Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I am Whitney, and I am based out of Columbus, Ohio, and I travel all over the world doing whatever I want, whenever I want, with people that I love, doing the things that bring me joy. And my passions are essentially riding my motorcycle, traveling, getting out of my comfort zone, inspiring other people to love themselves, and learning anything new that I can get my hands on. Honestly, I would call myself a Jill of all trades. Um, but I think that the one thing that really brings me joy and passion and like lights me up is self-love. Everything about it, from learning it to teaching it to inspiring others to everything and anything in between. I just want to soak it up. Which is crazy because when I look back on my life and see where I was compared to where I am now, you could have never told me in a million years that I would be here today. Never, nope, never, never. Or actually, maybe you could have, because some people turn their pain into passion. And that's exactly what I did. You see, I always had a hankering for helping people. When I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up and be a doctor. I wanted to help people. And when I grew up and I tried that on in college, I actually realized I didn't want to be a doctor. That was too much for me. But I also still wanted to help people. So I learned through years and years later that I would use my bachelor's of science degree with a focus in fine arts to, you guessed it, help people. Studying photography at OSU was quite the experience. The photo department had a professor who was basically known for giving you a grade based off of what amount of clothes you were wearing. So the less clothes, the better the grade. The more clothes, the worse the grade. And of course, me being me, challenging status quo, I tried it on. And what do you know? Learned that the rumors were true, that the less clothes you wore, the better the grade, and vice versa. The more provocative and outside the box, the better. Little did I know that 4 years of this gross experience, but by me stepping through my comfort zone and being vulnerable and trying on my own form of bravery, I learned that no one was going to love me but me. Cue the self-love journey. After 4 years of sharing my naked body over and over again for my peers and my professors to judge, on a big ass gallery wall, I learned over time to accept myself and my body through every transition. That looked like gaining freshman 15, losing freshman 15, growing new and unpredictable stretch marks, the ebb and flow of my body, having a gut, being extremely stressed out and underweight. You named it, I documented it. And to be honest with you, I'm still documenting it. It's amazing because now I can look back and see that I was actually viewing my body as if it were a piece of art. Fast forward to today, I used what didn't work for me then and made it the staple in my business to support others in their self-love journey. Through this experience, I learned incredible, valuable things that surrounded self-love, including acceptance, surrender, boundaries, and vulnerability. And because I've done it myself, I'm more than happy to meet people where they are. My favorite humans that I love to work with are bold and brave, and they have a bring it on attitude. They're almost ready to like take a leap of faith, try something new on. One of my favorite clients was 82 years old. She had been following my work for quite a while and finally bit the bullet. She booked herself a body positive session because the only time that she ever celebrated her naked body was when she was being intimate with her husband to purposefully make babies. She had never celebrated her body in this way. And when she took this leap of faith, she created some of her own type of magic, like bold, brave, courageous. She honestly took herself on in ways that some people never will in their entire life. And what she gained from that experience was so much more than what she would have gained or gathered just staying where she was at. Throughout my 5 years in business, if there's anything that I've learned that I want to share with you today, it's this. Vulnerability is a superpower. How do you get people to be vulnerable? For those of you in the finance world, how do you get people to open up and share about their money habits so that you can support them fully? For those of you in therapeutic spaces, how do you get people to tell you their biggest fears and traumas? Maybe things that have been horrible that happened to them. How do you get them to feel like they're safe enough that they can share those things? For those of you that are selling a product, how do you get your clients to trust what you're saying about that product? And how do you get to purchase the thing that you're selling? The truth is, I found this to be true. Vulnerability breeds vulnerability. In order to be vulnerable, in order to create vulnerability, you must be vulnerable. You must be the one to foster trust, build authentic relationships, and inspire open communication with your clients. So what does being vulnerable look like? Vulnerability, according to one of my favorite people on the planet, her name is Brené Brown, is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure, meaning that we must show up and risk being seen without knowing what's going to happen next. It means that we get to be brave, step into our most authentic selves, and then show up as that woman or man or they, them in the world, regardless of what other people are saying, doing, thinking, all the things. Vulnerability can be scary for some, but to me, it's my superpower. Because vulnerability creates everything that I want in my life. It fosters trust, which is super sexy. It establishes a strong reputation, which is so important, especially in the business community. It creates meaningful connections and safe environments, just as I mentioned before. It reduces stress and anxiety. And among all of the other things that it creates, it could lead to innovation and collaboration between business owners and people in general. Being vulnerable doesn't always have to look like sharing your biggest, deepest, darkest secrets. It can look like expressing an insecurity or sharing a fear. Maybe it's asking for help or admitting that you fucked up and that you made a mistake. It can even be talking about relationship issues with your partner. In the incredibly vulnerable business that I'm in, quite literally people taking their clothes off in front of a camera, it is crucial that I be vulnerable with my clients. And here's what that could look like. Or this is what it does look like. Set the scene. It's 2020. I'm in my 38-year-old client's attic and she's in the middle of a breakdown because she is explaining to me that she dislikes her breasts. So I got curious. I was like, so what is wrong with your breasts? And she was like, well, my ex told me that my areolas are too big. And internally, of course, I'm sitting here rolling my eyes. Like I'm dying inside because some person has taken her inventory of her body and told her about herself. And then she developed some type of feeling about it. So I was like, the audacity of this person. Like, of course you think that you have the right to just pick apart somebody else. Anyways, the problem was I could relate. Right? Most humans can relate to an experience like this. So I met her where she was. And at this point, she's like curled up in a ball, bawling her eyes out, covering her breasts and ashamed. So I brought out a memory and I said, oh my God, I used to date this guy who would say the exact same thing to me. I was like, he used to tell me that I had salami nipples. Won't that make you self-conscious? And then I started crying. I was crying because we shared the same trauma and the same experience. And I really didn't even know this woman. Like, it's just unreal to me that this can happen. In that moment, she learned that she could relate to me, which created an even safer space for her to open up and be more vulnerable. The remainder of her session ended up being magical. She let it rip, letting nothing get in her way, regardless of any obstacles. It was extraordinary to witness and also inspiring to support her in her self-liberation. And wouldn't you know, I left that shoot and she sent me a message telling me she felt a whole lot different about herself. And the funny thing is, I did too. When we can be vulnerable with one another, we create deeper, more meaningful relationships. And when we create deeper, more meaningful relationships, we also create the like, no trust, which every single business owner needs in order to be a successful business and to attract their perfect client. Vulnerability is my superpower. What's yours? Thanks for listening. My name is Whitney Brewer. I'm a body positive photographer based out of Columbus, Ohio, and I am so thrilled that you are here. If you would like to connect with me, Instagram is a wonderful way to do that. It's at Whitney Brewer _. You can shoot me an email at whitneybrewer.com or whitney.brewer@gmail.com, or just head over to my website. There's a bunch of contact forms that you can fill in there and just shoot me a message there. Thanks so much for your time.